International Groningen.
International Groningen.
International Groningen.
Hello and welcome to International Groningen podcast. I'm Anastasija and today we're going to talk about your first steps as an international in Groningen. I have an expert on my right, Elli, and I have an international and community representative, Emilio, on my left. Could you introduce yourselves?
Yeah, of course. So my name is Elli. I'm 24 years old, originally from Germany, but I've been already living in Groningen for around 4 years now.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm currently integration coordinator of ESN Groningen, so I'm working full-time for a student association.
Yeah. And what about you?
Well, my name is Emilio Muñoz. I'm a mechanical engineer student at Hansa University and originally from Mexico. And I've been living here for 2 years already.
2 years. So you're quite fresh, but you already know the drill. So
It's like getting to the step when things are becoming natural.
Yeah.
And yeah.
But things still shock you.
Yeah, sometimes I get the feeling that I've been here for my entire life. And then I'm like, no, I'm pretty new here. So yeah, it's like, yeah.
Then the weather hits and then you're like, no, that's not where I'm from.
Yeah, no, I'm like, Mexico might have nicer weather.
Yeah, I've been living in Groningen for 11 years now. And sometimes things feel natural. And then I'm like, wow, that used not to be the case. I used to be confused about every small step, every small interaction. But let's go back to when your first step, like your first interaction with word Groningen. How did you choose it? When did you hear about it? I'm curious to hear both of your stories. How did word Groningen appear in your life for the first time?
Okay, so for me, as every typical German, I was traveling after school.
Where are you from, Germany?
Southern Germany, Freiburg, so like very close to Switzerland and France. So yeah, I was traveling a lot and then I came back to Germany and I was like, yeah, I actually don't like it that much here. Mm-hmm. So I really wanted to go abroad again. And I'm not only doing ESN, I am actually also studying. And then I study international relations. So I was looking, okay, where can I do that? And in Germany, that was also not really possible. So I just started to Google around and then I found Groningen.
Yeah.
And I actually also applied for Rotterdam and I literally Googled both cities and I decided that Groningen is prettier. And then that's how I ended up here.
That's a little bit similar to how I found out about. I checked out study programs in Aarhus in Denmark and Groningen, and everything was like almost exactly the same scores. And then I just Googled, and somewhere it said best student party city in the world, and I was like, okay. We've got our winner. If everything else is on the same level. And for you, because Mexico is quite far.
Yeah, well, I mean, right now I'm doing my second bachelor degree. I was already studying in Mexico, but then coronavirus happened. So I had to stop studying in Mexico. And when I decided that I wanted to continue and to finish my bachelor degree, I had already lived in Germany for 2 years.
Where?
I lived for 1 year in a little town called Heidenheim in Baden-Württemberg.
Do you know where it is?
No, but it's in Baden-Württemberg, so.
And then I lived for a year in Potsdam, close to Berlin.
Yeah.
So my original plan, after I decided that I wanted to go back to study, it was first look in another university in Mexico, but then that was just really not going to work.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, let me look in Europe, because it's actually sometimes even more affordable to study in Europe than it is in Mexico.
Really?
Universities in Mexico are crazy expensive.
Okay.
It's even cheaper to study as a non-European here in Europe than as a Mexican in Mexico if you go to a private university.
Wow.
So it can be quite expensive. So I was like, okay, let's go to Germany, because even for non-Europeans, it's like 250 euros a semester. Mm-hmm. But while I was looking for universities in Germany, then I was like, okay, why am I only going to Germany? I already lived in Germany 2 years, so that was mostly why I wanted to go back, because I already knew about it, I already knew the language, etc. But I was like, just look for a university, like doesn't really matter where. So I actually looked for universities in Poland, in Germany, Switzerland, Italy, France, Spain, and I decided to look for all the universities in which were either in Spanish, English, or German, and that I, as a non-European, could afford. Yeah. And Hansa popped up. I wanted to study mechanical engineering, so I looked for all the mechanical engineering degrees and universities, and I got accepted by Hansa super fast. It was pretty effective, and then even after being accepted by Hanse, is that I started researching Groningen.
Okay.
And that's pretty much how I knew about it. But I'm just incredibly happy that I got to Groningen.
What was your first impression?
It was quite tricky.
In 3 words.
In 3 words? Exhausting. But yeah. This has a backstory though. Like
3 words, you're Mexican.
no, it was. I guess I was just tired, and so I'm alone with no money, just like getting to a new country, and I was like, okay, you know what? So the first day it was just like I didn't get the best impression. Then the next day I actually went to the city, and I was incredibly pleased by it. I didn't know how pretty the city was.
Yeah. What about you? What was your first impression?
I was super excited. I was just so excited because like 6 months before I moved to Groningen, my family also moved to another place in Germany. Yeah. And then like I didn't even have like my own room there anymore. And I was just really excited to start my own life, like a new step, a new chapter of my life. So I loved everything. I was like in such an excited mood that whatever happened, I loved it.
Yeah.
And of course, like after a few weeks, it was okay, actually.
And there's a dip.
Yeah. The thing is, like, I imagined university to be nice, to make new friends, to party. And at some point I realized I actually have to study because I always kind of ignored that part. And then there was like a little bit of a dip, but in general, like I never regretted my decision.
Yeah, but you went through a whole circle of life as an international, and now you're actually at the stage when you help other internationals also to go through these dips and ups. And what do you do? What is ESN? I think that most people know what ESN is, but for the people who have no idea, what is it, and what is exactly your job? Also, short in like broader picture.
Yes, so we are part of a bigger network, so the Erasmus Student Network, which you can find all over Europe. I'm very proud to say that we're the biggest section, yay!
Ever.
Porto was bigger until 2 years ago, but we finally bet them, so...
In the world, so Groningen 1, let's highlight this. Groningen 1 has the biggest ESN in the world.
Exactly.
And how many other in the world?
We have more than 500 sections in 42 countries.
So this community of internationals is crazy. It's huge. And it's dangerous.
Very dangerous.
On the bikes.
Oh, that is true. That is true. Yeah, even I'm afraid of internationals on a bike.
That's actually our next episode, but let's go to this one.
We're part of a larger network, and in general, we were co-funded by the European Commission, and our mission is to show society the positive impact that international students have, but also to represent international students and to help them integrating.
Yeah.
And integration is, as my position already says, so I'm the integration coordinator. That's also my passion and my goal eventually. Yeah. So I have a lot of creative freedom in my work, but in general, I come up with projects, with initiatives and events to help international students to integrate into the Dutch and Groningse society. And we do that, for example, by our huge introduction week in September with 2,000 students, where we really show them everything that Groningen has to offer, where we give them more visibility and just, show the amazing student life that they can have here. But then also over the year, we have like more than 150 other events and activities and many other programs going on. So really ensure that international students have, like, as we always say, their home away from home here.
Yeah. I really think that's the situation, that's the case. Because you really, like, for internationals who are so confused by everything new, you just create like an island to them. Like, hey, this is what you can do. This is what you can do. This is what you can do. And what I think also ESN is super amazing about is like helping students who are maybe not so extroverted to also meet people, to help this created systems, created events, created excursions that just you cannot not meet people, even if you're super shy. You're also a member, or what you also are somehow involved with ESN?
I actually last year got lucky enough to be president of the excursion committee, so that was actually pretty fun.
Okay, so for people who are not maybe in Groningen yet, or maybe are already in Groningen, what would be from both of you like 3 tips? What should you do as an international who or is not in Groningen yet, but is for sure that in a month, in 2 weeks, and in half a year will be there? Or for internationals who are just getting started here?
I would say, like, my biggest advice would be don't take accommodations lightly. If you're coming to Groningen or here and need a place to stay, don't think that you're gonna easily find one.
Okay.
So like,
let's start from most difficult topic.
yeah. So I think that that would be a huge tip. It's not impossible if you prepare.
Yeah.
But so then just like do prepare if you
Yeah.
know that are coming here. And it's not a Groningen problem. I would say that is a Netherlands problem. But another tip, I don't know.
What
do
about
think?
you?
I think my biggest advice is always like get active in student life.
Yeah.
I think like coming from Germany, I find it so unique about the Netherlands that students actually have so many choices and that there is actually an active student life. Like we don't have that in Germany. My friends, they go to class, they study, and then they go home and will meet their friends. But there is not a student culture.
And community and the feeling
Not
that
at
the
all.
whole city is like you're part of one big ecosystem
Yeah,
always.
exactly. Yeah. So also like when I tell my friends like, yeah, you know, I'm in a student association, they're just like, a student association?
Yeah.
It's like, don't they fight with knives and stuff? Like they have like a middle-age picture of like verenigingen and association.
Yeah,
So
okay.
that's very funny. But yeah, I would really advise every student, like get active. It doesn't matter where. It doesn't matter if it's like a sports association or like ESN and another student association. Just use all choices that you have. Because I also think that this city gives us actually so many opportunities to shape the city, to shape like the politics, to shape the culture. And you should really use these choices because it's not a given. It's not normal.
And it's a really an exploration. You can just do it, and you have to just explore. And there's at every spot. Of course, there can be some criticism about internet that not everything is in English. Then there is like a traffic sign and it's not in English and Dutch. But on average, I think Groningen is super internationally friendly.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So you can really do a lot. You can socialize a lot, even if you're introvert. But because I think for extrovert, he just sits somewhere on a bus stop, and the next day he goes to like somebody to visit a company or something. But what are the other things that you maybe like with the housing? Did you underestimate it or were you prepared?
I think that I did prepare a lot in advance, especially because I couldn't do any viewing since I was in Mexico.
Yeah.
So I just went for like the sixth option, which was an SSH. So just those
student accommodation.
Student accommodation, and I booked it like probably like 5-6 months in advance.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I really wanted to make sure that I had somewhere to go. Yeah. So yeah, I guess just prepare because I didn't have any problem like 5 months before coming.
Yeah.
But I guess if I would have done that 2 months before coming, 1 month before coming, then it would have been a little bit challenging.
So it's a very, very handy tip. Of course, we can talk about all this social stuff and things that are more cultural. But first of all, before you come here, it's possible to find housing, but take your time, prepare, and know that it will cost you a lot of energy. Yeah. Don't underestimate it. But it's doable, but you do have to, it's not just 3 clicks away from you.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I was back then super lucky because as a German, of course, I had everything planned out months in advance.
Yeah.
So as soon as I got accepted, I was also like starting to like look for accommodations, and I found something on Facebook. It was actually like one of my first viewings, and a super sweet girl. She was my first Dutch friend. So and then we had a viewing online. I got the place. I still live there. I'm still friends with her 4 years later. So I got really, really, really lucky. But I know, for example, like at some point, I'm probably going to leave Groningen and live somewhere else in the Netherlands. And I'm not excited to ever move again within this country because it's so hard.
It is hard. But if you start in advance, and also in each episode, we highlight some handy sources. So we're going to also highlight ESN, of course. Yeah. But also we've got this International Groningen website. This is the podcast that we're here at. And we have one of the sub-projects. It's called At Home in Groningen. And they also share all kinds of tips on how to find an accommodation, but also standard contracts. What should you do and not do? Like transfer money with Western Union, not a good idea if you're not here. So a lot of people do this. So you have to know your rules and really like read on this, look maybe at the Reddit pages, read on official sources, but really prepare yourself and give yourself enough time. And yeah, Facebook is a popular source. Of course, it's not official. It can be very tricky.
Yeah.
But
we always have to be a bit careful because there are some scammers around. So always really check whether this is something sketchy or not.
But SSH, normal housing agencies, and Facebook groups, stays for the past, I don't know, 10, 15 years, the main 3 ways
Yeah.
to find a partner.
Exactly.
And of course, as you build your network, it becomes easier because you
Yeah.
know someone who's from ESN, who's moving out.
And then you ask for a place.
Then-
Yeah,
then you're-
It becomes
then-
easier.
helps.
and then you go on exchange somewhere else. You want to give it to your friend, so you know your
Yeah.
house will not be destroyed. So it becomes easier.
Yeah.
It will never be easy, even when I just bought a house and it was also difficult. So at every stage it's difficult, but it will become easier, and then you'll eventually know. So let's say somebody has his house, room, apartment, whatever it is, set. What is the next step? What should you think about?
Actually,
If you look at the circle of life of an
circle of
international.
life. Get a bike. Very
Okay.
important.
Yeah.
Get a bike. There are students who think, okay, no, you don't need it. You can walk, you can take the bus. No, get a bike.
Yeah.
Really important. And if you don't know how to cycle, then ask for a friend. Or I think like the International Welcome Center Nor, for example, they also have like free classes. It's just really important.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, as I already said, like get active, get involved.
Yeah.
And also, more bureaucratic things like check out health insurances and everything. What also many students don't know is that also non-Dutch students can get support from the Dutch government, financially speaking. And I already learned that like 2 years after I moved here, and that now helps me so much. So it would have been very nice to know that in advance.
You can get a loan and some money you can just get. It's called Duo. We'll also link this in the. I don't know. We have to still figure out where exactly, but we'll tag, link, add all the information in this episode. What do you think? You have a house, you have a bike. What should you do as a step 3?
I think that I would really highlight what Elli said about making it more than just studying. I mean, you're not here really just to get a degree. You're here to make friends for life, to make an amazing experience out of it. And I think that Groningen really offers all of it.
Yeah.
So you really do take it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have so many social events, especially when I compare it to Groningen has always been like a super nice city for any kind of student and any kind of young person. But it's growing and growing and growing. A couple of years ago, I think like 7, there were not so many events for internationals or like in English or with subtitles. But now when it comes to culture and events, most of films have movies have subtitles, theater pieces have subtitles or are in English. There are concerts and you can buy tickets and the websites are in English. So it's really becoming more and more internationally friendly. We also have a website. It's called Here and Now in Groningen. And there we collect all the events which happen in Groningen, but in English or without language barrier. And it's growing and growing and growing. More and more communities, venues, things are organized for internationals, with internationals, or just for everybody. And it's really crazy.
Yeah.
But at some point, I think that's also what you both have experienced. You have so much, there are so many opportunities, there are so many things. And at some point you feel like I'm not doing enough, or it's too much, or I don't know how to choose, or I just want to stay at home. Have you experienced something like this?
Yeah, I would say so.
Elaborate?
I don't know. I think that sometimes you can get overwhelmed of... I mean, if you want to also just do everything, you eventually could get overwhelmed. So I think that setting priorities is also pretty nice. But I don't know. What has been your experience regarding this topic?
Yeah, I grew up on the countryside, and with countryside, I mean countryside. So max 100 people in one village.
Okay.
And there were no clubs or anything.
Yeah.
You did not even have buses or any public transport. And if you want to do sports, you can either play football or you can dance in your local street dance club, which is a. But then coming to Groningen, and out of nowhere, you have so many opportunities and things that you can do. For me, that was quite overwhelming in the beginning. And I'm also first oh my God, I want to try this and that. But then I also have, of course, FOMO, and you always want to be everywhere. That was for me really hard. And I still, at this point, I'm struggling sometimes. And I'm like, hey, actually, I know that I need a rest day. I need to stay home tonight, but I want to go because I don't want to miss out. And I'm like, I'm young now, maybe in 10 years. But as Emilio said, it's important to kind of prioritize, and also to sometimes just be like, hey, listen to your body.
You
like if you
came
need a
to here to
break.
study, okay?
Yeah, that's also true. Oh, yeah, please also study sometime.
I think that we sometimes actually do forget that, you know, like you're just like, you come to a place that offers so much, meeting so many new people. It becomes like really just so nice and exciting that you're like, okay, but wait a minute, I do have to study.
Yeah.
Yes.
But no.
Exam week is approaching. That's where all the clubs get a bit silent. They don't sell so much beer. Everything is like, good morning.
Yeah.
But it's also good to give yourself a break sometimes. But the problem is when you give yourself a break in a super small village, then you're like, everybody's doing this.
Yeah.
But in Groningen, you feel like the whole city, everybody will meet the love of their life tonight. Everything will happen tonight. The best party will be tonight, and I'm at home. So you constantly have like this.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. But then what I also have sometimes, like, okay, then I force myself to go.
Yeah.
And then I'm standing there. I'm like, I'm actually not enjoying this.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm also slowly learning to then just be like, okay, bye. I'm going. I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Because in the past, I would really force myself to stay there and be like, maybe it's going to be more fun in half an hour.
Yeah.
So.
Do you also have that? Because I think Mexican is in general very outgoing and partying culture.
Yeah, I do have constant FOMO. I live in a place that's like right near to Sarkerland, where Paradigm is. So sometimes like I listen to the party, I'm like, why am I not there? But I don't know. But to be honest, there's sometimes also Fridays where like my idea in my head, I just can't wait to go to Jumbo, buy a bag of chips, and just watch movies the entire day.
Yeah, but
You
not
know,
study.
so-
It's still study. It's not even second choice.
And then study.
And if the pack of chips is not an option, Jumbo is closed and Netflix is off, then maybe. But seriously speaking, what are your tips? Because you do feel FOMO all the time in Groningen. You can, maybe you don't, but you can. What are the tips to balance it out?
I would say sometimes, because I'm always like, you kind of think with your brain, but you also often listen to your heart. Like sometimes just really listen to your brain. And when your brain tells you stay home, then just do it. Because there's a 99% guarantee that people are not going to have the best night of their lifetime. Exactly the day that you're not going to be there. And also like talk about it. I'm really happy that I feel like we're slowly at a point in society where we can talk about our mental health and we can be open about it. So also just like check in with your friends and be like, hey, do you also have that? Because it is very likely that all of you kind of force yourself to go somewhere where you actually don't want to be. So be open, communicate it, and then sometimes just be responsible.
Be responsible. And it's also nice that everybody studies, so everybody feels this pressure. So there's also this group, almost herd immunity, that you're like, okay, we party enough, then now it's time to study. It's exam weeks are approaching, and then everybody does it. So it feels like, okay, so I also join in this wave, and then it feels more like more natural almost.
You then get study FOMO, I guess.
then you have FOMO if you don't study.
No, because it actually does happen. Like it has happened to me that in exam season, I want to do something with my friends because like maybe my exam was not as difficult as theirs, and nobody's up to doing anything because they're studying. So I guess that beside all the party and all the social events that Groningen has, people do study when they need to study. So. Times for everything.
It is a very weird combination that you do study and you do have the best times of your lives and everything matches and people are coming and going. Somebody's going there on internship. You know how to find internship. There's a room. There's everything is happening at the same time. So it's really like a benefit of Groningen. And really like it's like a boiling pot almost. But have you had a culture shock here?
Like, I mean, I'm German, so
but also with other internationals.
I think the most I did kind of have.
What was it?
Tell, say.
Well, I don't know. Like, coming from a Latino culture and then coming to European culture, it does give a shock. Sorry, but then something that also happens is that in my group of friends, there's someone from Africa, someone from India, then Europe, then and they, even the mentality of like even cultures that they had in their own country that for me are unthinkable. There's just like, okay.
Can you say something like give us an example?
For example, in Mexico, everyone is Catholic. You don't really, or like Christian, you don't really have any interaction with any other religion. So like, for example, Ramadan was something that, I saw about it probably in a movie or something in Mexico, but I didn't actually thought that people would do it once you actually get to live it with with your friends, you know.
Yeah.
So religion, I think, would be a culture shock, but like another culture shock that I really like, for example, is the formality of, at least I could talk based on my experience from the Netherlands and Germany. Yeah. I do like when people take, for example, punctuality seriously and stuff like that, that things are structured and organized.
Take it from a Latino.
Because Mexico is chaotic, you know, and we love chaotic, but sometimes, could be a little bit difficult. So that's a culture shock that I do really like. But now I go to Mexico and I tell my friends, okay, we're meeting at 8, and I'm the only one there at 8.
Yeah. Standing all alone in the rain.
Integrated in the Dutch culture. It's actually called reverse culture shock, that you first have a culture shock. First you have like a honeymoon phase when you come to a new place, even if it's vacation or like a proper relocating, that you first have like this honeymoon, everything is amazing, then you have a small dip, then you adjust a bit on the surface, then you again have a dip, then you adjust properly, and then the problem is every time when you come back, it's Ellie who comes back, but it's also a different Ellie, and it's a different Amelia, and you have like a part of you, like a growing mushroom in you, that is your Dutch personality, and it's so weird for your people back there who know your other version too. Have you had experiences with that?
I have that a lot, like a lot. Like it was already when I was like traveling for 2 years. Of course, when you're 18, 19 and you travel alone around the world, you change a lot. Yeah. And I came back and I left my hometown when I was really loving it there, and I really had a hard time to leave. But then I came back and I could not reintegrate. I could not at all. And I loved my friends so much, but it didn't feel like my home anymore. And I felt like I don't belong there. And for me, it's even to the point that like when I moved away from Germany, I also changed my name. Yeah. So now when I go back home, people don't even call me Ellie. I feel like I have 2 completely different personalities. For me, going back and visiting my friends, I always love it. But it's really challenging. Yeah. It is.
You really build an extra personality here with your international experiences anywhere and growing. And then you grow a little bit apart from the community where you come from. And that sometimes comes as a shock that you're like, oh, wait, I thought that I was part of this, but it's actually there's some distance.
And it doesn't feel like it.
Yeah. They didn't experience all of this. They didn't have these thoughts, these cultures, these things, these shared experiences that we share with you guys here in Groningen. Like it's so weird that you're like, oh wow, I have a different personality. And then it takes a while. Sometimes still when my mom calls me and she starts from a contextual story, I'm like, Mom, to the point. This is really like a Dutch thing, and you're like, oh yeah, I actually have to switch back to my culture. It's almost like a Tumblr. Do you feel this when you're talking to your Mexican family and friends?
I think it happens a lot, especially with, as you just said, like Dutch directness and like just being straightforward and getting to the point.
Did you also? Is it now also part of your personality?
It became so, and to be honest, I love it because you can really just get to the point and start working on it. And,
it's so efficient.
But for example, I think that Mexican culture, we take a lot of things personally. Yeah. So you can. It's about not what you're saying, but how you say it. So if you just, for example, ask for something directly, it could be taken as rude. You should be like, hey, could you please maybe? And I'm like, well, like you don't have to like make an entire story behind it. And so that has happened. And that's like something that I do like about adapting to the Dutch culture. That part I do really like it.
Yeah. It's also funny because like my ex-boyfriend, he was also from Argentina. And I don't know if you're familiar with like high context and low context cultures. That like low context, we're just like very direct. We say what we think. It's very efficient. And like high context cultures, they always, as you said, talk around it and they don't directly ask. And our communication sometimes was really difficult because I was just like, bro, just tell me what you want. Like, I don't get it.
It's actually really true. We're also going to link it in one of the sources because I think it's a cultural theory of Hofstede, I think, and different high, and there's also unpredictability or uncertainty avoidance.
Yep.
Some Dutch are score really high. They don't want any uncertainty. And I think Mexicans, for example, they are okay with a lot, much more uncertainty. That, we'll see how it goes. Yeah, let's see if it rains tomorrow. And Dutch need to, like, what is the weather broadcast?
Like minute by minute.
Plan, what is the map? Where are we going? Which restaurant? How much is the score? Do they take cash? Do we need to take out cash? And
that's really, so true.
It's really like this. But it's good to understand that there's not like a bad or good thing, but just different cultures. And of course, you don't want to stereotype anyone. But this, what you mentioned with the theory of cultural theory, it really helps to understand, it's not about me or him. It's actually cultural theory. And if you have like this blueprint, you can later also see exceptions and say like, oh no, this Chinese person was super outgoing and super party person. And this person from Germany was super chaotic and super hectic. But usually it really helps you to understand also the Dutch, like that directness is really part of their thing. And just also no authority whatsoever, that you go like, you say you to teacher, like you to teacher, and the teacher sits on the table, like
and you're like
and is like 26 years old. I remember when I came here to Groningen, our lecturer, he was like, I think 20, late 20s, and I approached him, I was like, where's the teacher? Because I couldn't believe that somebody so young was sitting on the table, like, and is super informal, can be a teacher. Because in Latvia back there, it was also like the authority difference is so much different. And then you can tell to your teacher, I'm so hangover. I was like, what is she talking about? To a teacher, to like a lecturer say about hangover.
That happened to me as well a lot. We had the introduction week in mechanical engineering and we went to Finland. And the fact that, for example, we went to a bar and the teacher was drinking a beer with us. And we eventually actually got like tipsy and quite drunk with the teacher. I was like how? Why?
There are so many cultures where that would never be the case. So this informality, it has its bonuses. It also does downsides, but it's something to really that you have to get. But let's see what people on the streets of Groningen think about this. Let's check it out.
International Groningen.
What do you like best about Groningen?
I think, first of all, I really like the size of it. Also, the fact that it's mostly students here, so you can have a perfect balance between, getting good education, but also having the student life. So I think I really feel at home here.
Best is, first of all, is the student life. I think you have a lot of nightlife opportunities here, a lot of clubs and parties to go to. There are a lot of students, a lot of young people like us. Also, the uni is amazing. The courses here are nice. The city is cozy, and I like it very much.
Obviously, the student life is really good. I don't know. What do you think?
City size overall, like we walked the whole thing in like the first 2 days. Kind of got a lay of the land easily, and people seem pretty nice.
Yeah, it's a very functional city. Like even like the crosswalks and everything. Like we don't have that in Ireland. Like the way the city is laid out is really nice.
Do you have anything that you think is the best about Groningen?
The best, I would say that it's a young city. It has many internationals. I did not expect that. So you can meet people from any part of the world. And what else? I can also say that it has everything. You can do everything here. And at the same time, it's like a small city. It's not like Amsterdam. So everything is close and you have unlimited options almost. So I think that's the best part about it.
And do you have anything that you think is like a little less nice, something like a pet peeve?
To be fair, I'm probably the weather a bit, but that's independent. There's not an argument to put against the city. It's just the weather, which is Dutch weather, rainy, windy all the time. Other than that, I really like the city.
For sure the weather, but it's the Netherlands, I think. The fact that it's so far away from like the center part or the southern part of the Netherlands. So we have to travel a lot to get up here. I think that's the minus that I would say.
I think my pet peeve is that they do have an airport, but you can't fly anywhere from that airport. So it's like 20 minutes away, but you always have to go to Amsterdam if you want to go somewhere that you actually, your actual destination. Yeah. So, but other than that, there's nothing much.
Do you have any tips for future internationals here in Groningen?
Well, start looking for accommodation early. That's one. And second, to really come here with an open mind, because I do think that for a student, this is probably the best university to come here. And the university is great. student life is great, going out is great. So I would fully recommend it.
The housing's like tricky. It's really tricky. We're at a place now, but we have to find a place by the end of July. And we've heard from other people that it's all about like who you know and like talking to people. So definitely like reaching out and like talking to people and networking, I think is important. Yeah.
Just the Dutch language being like more required in certain jobs that like you wouldn't really think it would be. So just like be prepared for that.
Try to find the room as soon as possible because there is a shortage of rooms here and it's very hard to find one. I was very lucky to find a house here, but I know many people who didn't. And they had to stay at friends and stuff, so try to do that. Also try to think about the weather. If you're a weather influenced person, then probably it's not the best thing to come here. However, if you come here for studies and if that's your main purpose, come because it's well deserved and you're going to gain a lot.
For me, I think it's very important to find your people when you move here because moving away from home is always hard and moving to another country is just that much harder. So I think it's very important that when you first move here, make sure to be open to new people, really make an effort to meet new people, especially before exam season rolls around so you have more time to spend time with people. Exam seasons are hard, guys, but you get through it and cherish the summer months because the winter is pretty long, but the summer is that much cooler.
International Groningen.
Do you guys have a side job?
No, because like for me now ESN is like full time.
Have you ever had one?
Not in the Netherlands, no.
No. Do you have a side job?
Yeah, I currently work.
Don't say the company name. Just like, do you have?
Yeah. I work as a receptionist in a student accommodation. So that's pretty much one of my side jobs, and also but that's just as a freelancer and make different projects. But
do you guys have any tips on if somebody, like we are again going through the whole circle of life of international, somebody saying like, I got accepted, I have my housing, I know that I can do a lot of culture, a lot of socialization, but I also have to give myself a break. I will study a bit about the culture differences. How do I find a side job? Can I find a side job as a student? Because I really need money. What would you say?
So as an international, it's of course sometimes a little bit harder than for Dutch students just because of the language barrier.
Yeah.
But what I also noticed is that, for example, most of the cafes and restaurants, they don't mind if you don't speak Dutch. So you can always check that out. They're always looking for students. Yeah. Pretty much every store in the city is looking for students to work. Also, like many delivery services where you don't even need to talk. So it doesn't matter what language you speak. You can also just always check out like the municipality websites. I think International Groningen. There also you can always find something.
Makes in the north.
Yeah, exactly. And also check out universities because maybe not when you're first year, but then later they often look for student assistants, and those are jobs that pay very nicely. So that I can also recommend.
Yeah. Well, do you have some tips? Do you have friends who work as a student?
Yeah, actually I was a student assistant myself, and it's quite handy, it's quite nice because it's also related to your studies. So,
but it's a paid job.
It's a paid job. Yeah, exactly. Something that I think is worth pointing out is that if you're a non-European student, the procedure is a little bit different though.
Yeah.
You're limited to the amount of hours that you can work, which is 16 hours a week. But there's just like a different procedure. It is absolutely possible, but it is a little bit trickier.
Yeah. But if we would have to make like a ready-to-wear advice to students, if they think like, will I be able to combine my study in like a full-time bachelor and a side job?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's completely possible.
I think it depends very much on the kind of
she's
person.
A German.
Yeah,
she's
the Mexican saying like, you managed.
No, like to be realistic, I think it really depends on the kind of student that you are.
Yeah.
I'm an overachiever. So for me, like it's funny, the Dutch, they mostly say like 5.5, happy, perfect. For me, I'm like below 9, could have been better.
Yeah.
So like I study morning to evening.
Yeah.
Don't do that for your mental health, but I do it. And then, of course, I was also always really, really involved in the student culture. Yeah. So I think for me, having a side job, that would have been quite difficult. But that was also like my own prioritization. If you have different priorities and for you rather don't be a broke student and have money, then you have different priorities. And then it's also doable. But it really depends on what's important for you.
Yeah. So it would be possible, but not with all if you want to prioritize everything with 10 stars. So to say your career, your social life, your party life, your other extra hobbies, maybe not. But if you would really need to, it would be possible.
Yeah, like I always say, like, like you only have 100%.
Yeah.
And you can use these 100% for whatever you want, but there is no 110 or 120%. So, for example, like this year it was easier for me because I only did ESN, and I was like, I know this is going to be my full-time thing now. But the year before, I was also like a super ambitious student. I was in like 3 different committees. I was like helping ESN with other things. I had many different friends groups. I wanted to do sports. And at some point, I was just like, this is not doable. Like, this is not sustainable. I don't have any time for myself.
Yeah.
And of course, you can have like a burnout from working, but you can also get to your limits because of social stress.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah.
Depending on your also personality type. Like if you're more introverted, and also if you just take longer, because sometimes people just judge themselves. Like you come here and you come from different parts of the world. And for example, like people speak English differently.
Yeah.
Like I think on average, where I'm from, now it's fine, but it used to be that there will be people who were like, yeah, I traveled all across Australia. And of course, when you come here and when there's somebody who only studied English at school and you see somebody with perfect accent, perfect grammar, who can just read 70 pages in one time, then you get super overwhelmed and then you keep on, and she does this and this and this. And sometimes it just takes you more time and you have to give yourself this time.
Yeah, that's fine. Exactly.
And it's just, we come from very different cultures, backgrounds, social status also. Like some people have all the money available and that's amazing, but some people just don't. And then it's also something that you just have to give yourself space for. Like, I'm doing the best and making the most of it what I can with the given that I have, and Elli is just studying her ass off. And that's also normal. And for me, 7.5, good to go. Let's go. Let's not have a burnout. So it really depends on your personality, but really take your personal journey as your personal journey and see like where you come from, what the context. Because sometimes for you, this extra 0.5 for, I don't know, for me was economics, is much more work than for you extra 4 points for, I don't know what, history, international relations, EU history, whatever. Back to money talks. How much realistically money you think you as a student, bachelor student, need per month in Groningen?
So you can really tell that inflation kicked in. Like you can tell that. I remember my first year, I was like completely fine with like 800 euros a month.
For housing?
For everything, yeah.
What would be included?
So it's like housing, depending if you need an own insurance. I'm luckily still insured with my family, so I'm covered with that. But of course, food, clothing, everything that you need for university. Also like social things. Alcohol is expensive. That is very true, especially in the Netherlands. It's like whenever I go to a grocery store in Germany, I'm crying because everything is so cheap.
Germans who go to shop back to Germany with a car and come every week is like a subculture. I don't know what is up with Germans, but they shop there. This is like the first week they're here, they already go shopping. And before they arrive, they already know Paradigm. I don't know why. But it is like...
Actually, I never thought about it. Every German I know knows
like
Paradigm.
techno and raving is a big thing in Germany.
These are two things. They're very punctual. They're overachievers, especially girls. I don't want to stereotype, but it is how it is. They shop back in Germany, right on the border, and they know Paradigm. That's,
There's also like, there's this one store, DM. Every German is going to know it. It's a bit like Krautfahrt, but superior. It is like, I go in there and it's paradise. And every German is just like, I'm home.
That's a cultural heritage.
It is. No, but like, so in the beginning for me, like 800 was fine. By now it is closer to like 1,000. And that's really sad. It's not nice. But especially housing can be quite expensive. I'm kind of lucky there. But then also just, if you go to a store, I feel like right now you pay like double the amount that you paid like 2 years ago. So
and traveling is expensive also. If you go with the train back and forth to Amsterdam, will be like 50 something euros.
It's insane. That's also like something, going back to the advices for new incoming students, get like an NS subscription. So NS is like, they use it here for all the trains and public transport. And if you travel a lot, then get a subscription that it's a little bit cheaper. Definitely worth it.
I used to have the weekend free subscription, by the way, and it's just, pretty handy.
Can you elaborate what it is?
The weekend subscription, is pretty much one that allows you to travel during the weekends, just for the monthly payment of, I think I was paying like 32 euros.
Yeah.
So for 32 euros, you can travel for free around the entire country during the weekends. So it would be pretty nice to like, okay, I have nothing to do on Saturday. Let's go to Amsterdam for the day. You know, like it's already paid for. So it was quite nice. Yeah.
It's like it's just a traveling card that you first have to apply for. And then with that card, you can upload on the website a traveling product on it, right?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. Do you agree with closer to 1,000 per month, realistically?
I would say yes. That's around the same amount that I need to live here in Groningen. Yeah.
That's what people have to just be ready for. And if you take it or leave it, but it's better to have some savings extra build up rather than being like, oh, I didn't expect this. And my landlord is knocking on my door. And actually had this. I thought that I would find a job, but I couldn't. Like 12 years ago, almost, it was impossible. I did a job interview for a dishwasher job, but then they were like, international, no, sorry. And I really calculated in that I would work, like have a side job, and I didn't. So sometimes I would just have nothing to pay my apartment, my student room for, and my landlord would just like knock on my door, and I would just close.
That's so scary.
But it ended up well. I have a career in Netherlands now. It's good now, and it will be good for you. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
I think it was actually good. Do you have something else, like last inspiring words for internationals who are like sitting there at home watching this, listening?
So, as my job is integration, I often have like the feedback from many people that are like, oh, but the Dutch people, they don't like internationals. That's not true. Like I work with so many Dutch people and they're always so open-minded and tolerant and happy to have us here.
Yeah.
And what I would also like to tell internationals though is like actively try to integrate, like learn the language. I know Dutch is not the most important language in the world, but it's a very cute language. And it's also like, since I speak a bit of Dutch and since I'm more integrated, student life is so much more fun.
Yeah.
So also really put the effort into it because it's worth it. Yeah.
Integrate. What about you?
I think just make of your time in Groningen more than just studying. Like actually make it a life experience. Not you're here for your diploma, fair, but make it something more. And I think that Groningen really just offers that. And I think I could totally agree with just trying to integrate. It's just gonna make your life better here.
Yeah. So it's a journey, but we hope it will be an amazing one for you. And even if it's not at some point, it's also good. It's also very normal.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, guys, for your stories, for your tips. I also like how different cultures clashed. At some point,
high context, low context.
Yeah, it really united that you were coming from different sides, but you were kind of talking about the same thing from different perspectives. Thank you very much. And yeah, for people who are watching from home, from train, from wherever, let's make it an amazing adventure for you in Groningen. If you come just for an exchange, for a day, for 4 years, and maybe for the rest of your life. And let's make it an amazing journey for you. Thank you so much. That was International Groningen Podcast.